The honourable member for Greenway.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise today in support of the motion moved by the member for Chifley, and I commend him for bringing it to the attention of the House. In this place, he and I are privileged to represent the city of Blacktown, a city of over 300,000 people, nearly 10% of whom have Filipino ancestry. And in our respective electorates and beyond, the Filipino community is coming together to assist their brothers and sisters in the Philippines through many fundraising efforts, and I commend the work of everyone involved in that. In the immediate aftermath of Typhoon Haiyan, we've seen the tragic images of human suffering and devastation. As Tim Costello writes in today's Age, Typhoon Haiyan was more than a typhoon. In Tacloban, it was also a tsunami. Collecting so much water as it hurtled towards land, Haiyan formed an 8-metre wall of water, smashing the city flat, drowning people even as they sheltered in their homes. And now Philippine authorities and international aid agencies face a mounting humanitarian crisis, with the number of people displaced by the catastrophe estimated now at 4 million, up from 900,000 late last week. As remarked by aid workers in the country, along with the elderly, young children are the most vulnerable at the present time. And on our TVs over the past few days, we've seen many images of parents with children, and the sense of helplessness and human devastation is almost unbearable to watch. An assessment by the charity Save the Children suggests that some 3.9 million children are in the area devastated by the storm, and that's across a huge geographic area. And they urgently need basic supplies, and reaching them is proving to be more difficult than experts had initially assessed. And I particularly want to bring to the attention of the House, we talk about the magnitude of this disaster, but the very disturbing issues that have been raised by the potential for profiteering by traffickers on the orphan children of this terrible typhoon. I want to quote a section from Agencia Fides, who have written the following article. They're already called the orphans of Yolanda. They are the thousands of children who've become orphans after the storm that struck the province of late, and they are the most vulnerable victims as they find themselves alone, wandering through the rubble, looking for someone to take care of them. These children are the main victims of jackals who seize them for child abuse or human trafficking. It's a horrible prospect, but it's extremely realistic in the case of natural disasters. These children are in need of immediate attention to be saved from the clutches of traffickers and pedophiles. This is the complaint launched by Father Sheikh Cullen, a missionary from San Columbano, who has been living in the Philippines since 1969 and is known for his social and pastoral commitment, especially for child victims of sexual exploitation. The ministry explains the phenomenon. Under the pretext of saving or taking care of children, traffickers kidnap them and sell them to pedophiles, or they earn large sums of money by providing the children for illegal adoptions. Even worse, they introduce them into the world of prostitution, making them slaves of sexual exploitation. So it's not enough that these defenceless victims lose their whole families and everything they own, but can potentially be condemned to a life of permanent misery. In response to the disaster, Australia has provided a medical assistance team of professionals who've been working on the ground saving lives. And I urge this government, I congratulate this government and urge them to continue this great work and also implement a more long-term plan for the Philippines, which will continue to suffer, not just in the coming months, but in the coming years. They will need a long-term rebuilding plan for social services as well as infrastructure. And I'll be making formal representations to the Foreign Minister regarding this. This is an issue that's been directly raised with me by Filipino Australians in my electorate over the last couple of days, particularly highlighting the concerns for the many orphans who have become victims of this tragedy. And last week I had the opportunity to meet with the Philippines ambassador to Australia, Ambassador Anota, who was visibly and understandably upset by what is happening in her homeland, and she asked for all our thoughts and prayers during this time. And I also passed on to the Consul General, Yolanda on Louise, one of the hardest working diplomats in Australia and someone with whom both I and the member for Chifley and the member for McMahon have a close working relationship with, and we know that she will be doing her best to assist her country in their time of need. In closing, I join with the some 25,000 Filipino residents of the Blacktown local government area and the wider community to grieve for those who have been affected by this tragic situation. And I urge anyone watching this or reading this transcript to donate to the cause, and that can be done through a variety of organisations, including World Vision, Oxfam or UNICEF. I want to stress the importance of Australia needing a long-term role in rebuilding in our region. And in conclusion, I want to offer my deepest sympathy and prayers to all the victims and all the families and all their compatriots of the Filipino community in Australia.
The question now is that the motion be agreed to. I call the honourable member for Hinkler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the past week we've seen horrific images coming out of the Philippines.